So we just engaged in a very robust conversation with Mr. Smith about the dynamics of this change in the Black community. Where do you stand on how this will help or perhaps hurt, one might ask, the Black community?
I think it could potentially be a good thing, particularly for African-American women. And here's why I say that. I think it's once every 5 hours in this country, an African-American woman is murdered. And my father passed away in 2021 to COVID. My mother lives alone. So I won't advocate a position where my mother will not be able to protect herself. And my mother owns a gun. She's always owned a gun. And I think it's necessary that sometimes our community, in particular our women, have to sometimes protect themselves. And that's not to impugn law enforcement or not to say there aren't good police out there. They are. However, when the police is on the phone, they're not there while the violence is being committed. So I want to provide our community with an opportunity to protect themselves. I know that sort of goes against the grain because our community has gun violence, but I think the African-American community can have and should have responsible gun and legal gun ownership, and they should avail themselves to the protections that they can provide themselves. That's how I see it.
Yeah, I mean, it really kind of makes sense to me in the sense of the scenario that you're giving where, you know, really Black women are disproportionately likely in America, period, to be single. Either they are single, never married, divorced, widowed. I mean, we're more likely to have to navigate this world by ourselves. And you're saying that it makes sense to have this extra bit of protection there, particularly for that demographic who's more likely than perhaps others to have to be in situations where they can't rely on somebody else. They have to be able to protect themselves with or without police intervention.
Absolutely. I mean, there's an old saying, and I hate to say it, but it says a gun in the hand beats a cop on the phone. And I think that when it comes to our community, when it comes to African-American women, they shouldn't shy away from gun ownership. I think if they take the time to take a class and familiarize themselves with firearms, they can find that it provides them a mode of protection other than an alarm system or other than dialing 911. I don't like the trends that I see every day. I'm on social media and I see an African-American woman, be it a young woman or an older African-American woman, that's murdered at the hands of someone else. So I think it's time for us not necessarily to say, oh, all guns are bad. No, all guns are not bad. I think that if you've got a law-abiding citizen and he or she wants to arm themselves, if they take the necessary time to go out and familiarize themselves with a gun and they're responsible, they should have that opportunity.
You know, one last question I will just ask you about the cultural dynamics and just to bring in a little pop culture in here. We've seen all of the sort of brouhaha over what happened with Megan Thee Stallion, right, in terms of her getting shot by an acquaintance. And in essence, seeing public opinion, a lot of it going towards her shooter versus her, even though she was the victim. You know, I do believe, to sort of quote a different saying, it's better to be judged by 12 than buried by 6. But I would have to ask you, you know, just in terms of the dynamics of misogynoir in this nation, even if a Black woman protects herself, isn't it likely that she'll still be considered guilty in a lot of people's eyes?
I think that what happened with Megan's instance is that you had a lot of people. We didn't have access to the trial, like the cameras there. So you had people coming out giving secondhand information and poisoning the minds of everyone to think that, okay, all of these things happened and Megan's absolutely lying. I think that the jury spoke, they answered, and the verdict is clear that Tory Lanez, or whatever his name is, perpetrated a heinous crime on a woman. And my heart goes out to her. I hope that never happens to anybody else. And I hope that any woman that finds herself in the company of somebody that's going to do her harm like that with a gun should be able to protect herself. I know we're on social media. What I really want to say is that's some sucker stuff, and I'm going to leave that alone. But no, listen, at the end of the day, you know, I've got a mom. I have a daughter. My daughter's 6. And when she's old enough, because I already take her out and familiarize her with firearms as of now, I'm going to make certain that she has the ability to protect herself, because daddy can't always be there. But I want her to know that she has the right and the option to protect herself.
Well, thank you so much for joining us this evening, Representative. And I know that your daughters should feel very, very proud to have you as their dad. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
All right, folks, back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it.
This is about covering us.
Invest in black-owned media.
Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks.
We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible.
Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.